Good day, sir. Today I will be discussing the five key topics in table tennis. History. The sport originated in Victorian England where it was played among the upper class as an after-dinner parlor game. It has been suggested that makeshift versions of the game were developed by British military officers in India around the 1860s or 1870s who brought it back with them. A row of books stood up along the center of the table as a net. Two more books served as rackets and were used to continuously hit a golf ball. The name ping pong was in wide use before British manufacturer J. Jocks and Son Limited trademarked it in 1901. The name ping pong then came to describe the game played using the rather expensive Jocks equipment, with other manufacturers calling it table tennis. A similar situation arose in the United States where Jocks sold the rights to the ping pong name to Parker Brothers. Parker Brothers then enforced its trademark for the term in the 1920s, making the various associations change their names to table tennis instead of the more common but trademark term. The next major innovation was by James W. Gibb, a British table tennis enthusiast who discovered novelty celluloid balls on a trip to the US in 1901 and found them ideal for the game. This was followed by E.C. Good, who in 1901 invented the modern version of the racket by fixing a sheet of pimpled or stippled rubber to the wooden blade. Table tennis was growing in popularity by 1901 to the extent that tournaments were being organized. Books were being written on the subject, and an unofficial world championship was held in 1902. In those early days, the scoring system was the same as in lawn tennis, although both a table tennis association and a ping pong association existed by 1910. A new table tennis association was founded in 1921 and renamed the English Table Tennis Association in 1926. The International Table Tennis Federation, or ITTF, followed in 1926. London hosted the first official World Championship in 1926. In 1993, the United States Table Tennis Association, now called USA Table Tennis, was formed. In the 1930s, Edgar Snow commented in the Red Star over China that the communist forces in the Chinese Civil War had a passion for the English game of table tennis, which he found bizarre. On the other hand, the popularity of the sport waned in the 1930s Soviet Union, partly because of the promotion of team and military sports, and partly because of a theory that the game had adverse health effects. In the 1950s, paddles that used a rubber sheet combined with an underlying sponge layer changed the game dramatically, introducing a greater spin and speed. These were introduced to Britain by sports goods manufacturer S.W. Hancock Limited. The use of speed glue beginning in the mid-1980s increased the spin and speed even further, resulting in changes to the equipment to slow the game down. Table tennis was introduced as an Olympic sport at the Olympics in 1988. Definition of terms. The net is suspended by a cord attached at each end to an upright post, 15.25 centimeters high. The outside limits of the post are 15.25 centimeters outside the sideline. The top of the net is 15.25 centimeters above the playing surface. The bottom of the net, along its whole length, is as close as possible to the playing surface. A rally is the period which the ball is in play. A let is a rally of which the result is not scored. A point is a rally of which the result is scored. The server is the player due to strike the ball first in the rally. The receiver is the player due to strike the ball second in a rally. Spin is an essential part of table tennis and adds an interesting layer of strategy and flair. Spin can make the ball move in ways that seem impossible. It can thrill audiences and frustrate opponents. Top spin can make it appear as if the ball is magnetically attracted to the table. The block shot is a defensive stroke that allows a player to use the speed of their opponent's shot against them. It needs to be completed straight after the bounce to ensure that the player maintains control of the ball. A loop in table tennis is an offensive stroke with the primary purpose of producing lots of top spin. Table tennis is a game of spin, and the loop is the primary example of using spin during a rally. A smash is a very high-speed shot aimed at finishing the point with a flat hit, not particularly spinny. Smashes may generate some top spin, but are not as spinny as a loop stroke. Love, a term used in tennis instead of the word nil or zero. It is used to describe a lack of score in either points, games, or sets. A game score of 30-0 is given as 30 love, and a set score of 6-0 is given as 6 love. Equipment. Table tennis equipment is relatively simple and inexpensive. The table is rectangular, 9 by 5 feet or 2.7 by 1.5 meters. Its upper surface, a level plane 30 inches or 76 centimeters above the floor. The net is 6 feet or 1 meters long, and its upper edge along the whole length is 6 inches or 15.25 centimeters above the playing surface. The ball, which is spherical and hollow, was once made of white celluloid since 1969. A plastic similar to celluloid has been used. The ball, which may be colored white, yellow, or orange, weighs about 0.09 ounce or 2.7 grams and has a diameter of about 1.6 inches or 4 centimeters. The blade of a racket or bat is usually made of wood, is flat and rigid, and may be covered with a thin layer of ordinary stippled or pimpled rubber, which may be laid over a thin layer of sponge rubber and may have the pimples reversed. Whatever combination is used, each of the two sides of a paddle must be different in color. The racket may be any size, weight, or shape. This is an example of the tennis table. You have the net here, the racket, basically every equipment of table tennis. Significance of the table tennis ball, racket, table, and attire. The ball is the object. The object is to hit the ball so that it goes over the net and bounces on the opponent's half of the table in such a way that the opponent cannot reach it or return it correctly. The lightweight, hollow ball is propelled back and forth across the net by small rackets, bats, or paddles held by the players. The bat, also known as the paddle or racket, is the most vital piece of equipment for every table tennis player. It's crucial that you appreciate the role your table tennis bat plays in your development as a player, as well as the importance of maintaining it both for training and matches. The table serves as the playing surface, hereby referred to as the court. Once the server has struck the ball over the net, the receiver must wait for the ball to bounce on the court once before returning the serve. The ball keeps bouncing once before being returned until the ball goes out of play. Attire. Wearing an appropriate attire when playing tennis is not only for fashion's sake. More importantly, governing bodies and sports clubs set ITF rules of tennis regarding proper outfit to prevent unnecessary injury and to facilitate better performance and greater comfort when playing tennis. Rules and regulations. A match consists of the best of any odd numbers of games, each game being won by the player who first reaches 11 points or who, after 10 points each, wins 2 clear points ahead. A point is scored when the server fails to make a good service, when either player fails to make a good return, or when either player commits a specified infraction. Service changes hands after every 2 points until 10 all is reached, when it changes after every subsequent point. The serve is made from behind the end of the table, the server tossing the ball upward from the palm of the free hand and striking it as it descends so that it first bounces on the server's own court and then, passing over the net, bounces on the opponent's court. In serving, no spin may be imparted to the ball by the fingers. This was not always so. Finger spin, especially in the United States, reached a stage where the experts could produce untalkable services, and the game became farcical. Finger spin was universally banned in 1937. Scoring. A point is scored by the player for any of several results of the rally. The opponent fails to make a correct service or return. After making a service or a return, the ball touches anything other than the net assembly before being struck by the opponent. The ball passes over the player's court or beyond their end line without touching their court after being struck by the opponent. The opponent obstructs the ball. The opponent strikes the ball twice successively. Note that the hand that is holding the racket counts as part of the racket, and that making a good return off one's hand or fingers is allowed. It is not a fault if the ball accidentally hits one's hand or fingers and then subsequently hits the racket. The opponent strikes the ball with the side of the racket blade, whose surface is not covered with rubber. The opponent moves the playing surface or touches the net assembly. The opponent's free hand touches the playing surface. As a receiver under the expedite system, completing 13 returns in a rally, the opponent that has been warned by the umpire commits a second offense in the same individual match or team match. If the third offense happens, 2 points will be given to the player. If the individual match or the team match has not ended, any unused penalty points can be transferred to the next game of that match. A game shall be won by the player first scoring 11 points, unless both players score 10 points, when the game shall be won by the first player subsequently gaining a lead of 2 points. At a 10-10, it's deuce. You get 1 serve each and must win by 2 clear points. This is sudden death, or table tennis's equivalent of a tie break. A match shall consist of the best of any odd number of games. In competition play, matches are typically best of 5 or 7 games. Rule changes. After the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, the ITTF instituted several rule changes that were aimed at making table tennis more viable as a televised spectator sport. First, the older 38mm or 1.50-inch balls were officially replaced by 40mm or 1.57-inch balls in October of 2000. This increased the ball's air resistance and effectively slowed down the game. By that time, players had begun increasing the thickness of the fast sponge layer on their paddles, which made the game excessively fast and difficult to watch on television. A few months later, The ITTF changed from a 21-point to an 11-point scoring system, and the serve rotation was reduced from 5 points to 2, effective in September of 2001. This was intended to make games more fast-paced and exciting. The ITTF also changed the rules on service to prevent a player from hiding the ball during service in order to increase the average length of rallies and to reduce the server's advantage, effective in 2002. For the opponent to have time to realize a serve is taking place, the ball must be tossed a minimum of 16 centimeters or 6.3 inches in the air. The ITTF states that all events after July 2014 are played with a new poly material ball. Match officials. Officials in table tennis are divided into two categories, umpires and referees. Umpires control a match whilst referees control a tournament. For every table tennis competition, a referee is appointed with a deputy who can act on their behalf. The referee is required to be present at the venue throughout a tournament and is required to uphold the rules. During a table tennis match, an umpire is appointed to decide on the result of each point or rally. The umpire is required to use their judgment when applying the laws and regulations of the ITTF. Where the umpire is officiating alone, their decision is final and they should be seated about 2 to 3 meters from the side of the table and in line with the net. And that concludes my discussion. Thank you, and thank you for watching.